Question: what is the best vintage inspired 35mm lens for Leica M mount? Coming up, we're going to test two new lenses. I've got the Mr. Ding 35mm f1.8, and then we have the version 2 Artizlab 35mm f1.4. Coming up, everything you need to know about these two new 35mm lenses for Leica M mount. Hey guys, Matt here from MrLeica.com. After reviewing around 37 35mm lenses already, this is just going to add to the backlist. As a YouTuber and model photographer, I was keen to see how these lenses work for both portraits, as I do here with some of my model photography in the Czech Republic, and then while we're there, I also wanted to walk around Prague and use it as a walk around lens, so all that's coming up. So the two new lenses I've got is the Mr. Ding 35mm 1.8 and the Funleader Artizlab 35mm f1.4. If we take a close look first at the Mr. Ding lens, you can see if you own a black paint Leica MP or any black paint Leica M camera, this lens is going to pair absolutely beautifully because it's a black paint finish, brass lens. It's a super heavy lens, really nicely made with white and red font. So if you've got something like anything with a red dot like this, Leica M6, the red on the lens finishes really nice. And then it's had a red Leica strap like I normally use, and it looks fantastic. This lens is supplied with a Mr. Ding lens cap and also a brass pinch on E39 hood, also black paint. So it's quite a heavy setup with the brass lens and the brass lens hood. If you love brass and a weightier setup to your Leica M camera, you're going to love the hood. Personally, I tend to prefer quite lightweight things, so I looked through my hoods and I fitted for my recent trip this square hood which is designed for the Elmerit 28 2.8 Leica lens, and it looks fantastic with a rectangular hood. Their own hood is beautiful, but I just wanted something a little bit smaller and a little bit lighter. So yeah, shout out to Square Hood. Not designed for this lens obviously, but it does fit perfectly from my testing and experience taking this setup on my recent trip. I can put a link to Square Hood below. Not sponsored, they don't know I'm doing this mention. The Mr. Ding lens is very smooth and very dampened, and you've also got a nice modern focus tab as you can see here, and this lens focuses to 0.7 meters, so perfect for rangefinder cameras. Now the second lens we're going to be looking at is one that I have mentioned before, but this is their second variant. This is the Funleader Artizlab 35 1.4 as mentioned, and this lens is also absolutely beautiful, especially in silver. I'll show you the black one as well. I've actually got the version 1 black one, but they look identical, except if you buy the black one today, it'll be the version 2. So slightly different tweaks that have been made. It now fits onto a Leica M camera more cleanly. I think some users complained that it was a tight fit. It's also said to have a more accurate infinity focus, and yeah, the small little details that they've improved since the first batch. The difference between the Funleader and the Mr. Ding over here, the Funleader's got the same modern style focus tab, but it's actually got a focus lock on the inside. If you press this, it unlocks the lock. If not, it's locked, you see, at infinity. It's a beautiful design, but it may annoy you if you're working around the near infinity range and it's clipping into place. Personally, I've had no issues. The other main difference with this lens compared to the Mr. Ding is this lens only focuses to 1 meter, not 0.7 meters. This lens is much lighter. It's one of my lightest 35mm lenses, and for that reason I use it a lot. I've been using the original black one, which has got the yellow font since it was first released, and then they sent me the silver one to try out, and it's nice that they've made like the minor differences to improve the kind of quality control. If anything, this one is more precise feeling now than the Mr. Ding, and that's already nice. If you shut your eyes, or if I shut my eyes, there's no way I could tell the difference between this and a Leica for the aperture. It's actually probably more pleasurable to use than some of my Leica lenses. You get half stop clicks, as you can hopefully see, and it's just really nicely made. The finish is absolutely stunning. I know an M3 doesn't have 35mm frame lines, but I just use a 35mm finder. Another difference between this lens and most other lenses is it doesn't have a filter thread. If I make it brighter, you can hopefully see there's no filter thread on the Artizlab. That's because it's designed based on a classic Leica lens, the same as the Mr. Ding, Leica, vintage Leica inspired lens. And so they also did the same with the hood design that was used for Leica. So the way it works in the past with some vintage Leica lenses is you had series 7 filters. So instead of the front of the lens having a filter thread, you'd put your filter in the hood itself. So that's between the kind of the clip-on bit and the vented hood. And then all you do is clip that onto the front of your lens and your filter's inside. The Funleader is probably better for you if you like lightweight, such as me. So it feels more like aircraft aluminium, and this feels super lightweight as well. If you prefer heavyweight setups, I know some of you, I've had some of my students come to me and they've like fully kitted their camera out to make it heavier, so they've got a heavy grip, a heavy like rope camera strap. And so anybody that wants to add weight to your camera, you will love the Mr. Ding, because it's made of brass and the hood is also made of brass. So those are the two lenses we're going to be mostly dealing with. I'm going to show you sample photos from both lenses, and then to make it more interesting, and compare these lenses to existing Leica inspired lenses like your Artizlab 8 element. Here it is in collapsing. If you don't know this lens is the same optical design, both of those, but this one collapses and it's in screw mount, where this one's like an M mount. And then I guess if you think of classic lenses, the original classic lens was like the Thid5 1.4 Voigtlander Nocturne, hence the name Nocturne Classic. So this is actually a 40mm, but I will compare these two new lenses to the existing Thid5 1.4 version 2 to give you an idea of how these modern classics compare to like the old school classic. For the infinity test, I'll also compare to like the benchmark lens that I've got, which is the Voigtlander Apo Lanthor Thid5 f2 Apo. Shout out to Flaghead Photographic. They lent me this lens so I could do this testing to use it as a benchmark. Clearly it's a much bigger lens and it's not designed to be classic, but it does give you a great idea of how sharp a lens can be in the corners, so we can then compare these classic inspired lenses against one of the best in class, similar to like the Zeiss Thid5 1.4 and like the Leica Apo, things like that. So let's see how good the Mr. Ding Packed Chron M Thid5 1.8 is and the Artizlab Thid5 1.4. Just while we're talking to Mr. Ding, this is a Leica Summicron 50mm f2, and you can see the finish is really beautiful, like the way the engraving is on the side of the lens. Now what you may not realise, it's actually got a Mr. Ding UV filter on. This is their new Mr. Ding UV filters, which you may have seen if you follow them on Instagram. 39mm thread UVA, and it's absolutely top-notch quality. You literally cannot tell the difference between the finishing on the front of the original Leica lens, classic Leica lens, and the finish from the Mr. Ding filter. I'm not sure if they make the filters in black as well, but if you've got classic Leica lenses and you don't currently have a UV filter on them, I'd suggest getting a Mr. Ding UV filter. I'm going to put a link below to Mr. Ding, because these vintage lenses, here's another one, they tend to have softer coatings on the front. So here's an original Leica UV filter, Mr. Ding UV filter. Can you tell the difference? No, me neither. So there you go, lights and Mr. Ding, and both of them are really important, especially on your vintage lenses. I tend not to use UV filters on modern lenses because they tend to be a bit more durable, but yeah, I thought I'd give them a mention. If you need a filter, really impressed with the quality, 0 complaints. Okay, on to the 35mm lens test. Feel free to pause at any point, I'll go through quite quickly. So Mr. Ding versus Funleader, these are all raw files, both shot wide open, so bear in mind that the Mr. Ding is a 1.8 versus the 1.4, you're going to expect it to be a little bit sharper. However, for more detailed scenes, like wider scenes, the Funleader tends to give me more detail. The problem is it only focuses to 1 meter, not 0.7 meters. If you do a close crop, you can see at the different f-stops, Funleader on the top, Mr. Ding on the bottom. Now an infinity corner crop, this is really extreme corners. In the extreme corners, the Artizlab is actually pretty poor, but it's only like the 5% in the extreme corners. As soon as you come slightly off the corners and maybe like 15% in, it seems to be better than a lot of the other lenses, as you may have seen in my recent 35mm lens video. This is the same optics as you may have seen in that video. As you can see here, the misting is very good in the corners, but it seems to be less good. It seems to be okay, but it's not excellent in kind of the mid area. Even stop down, as you can see here, for f8. Let's compare 4 lenses, so the same 2 plus 2 extra. So I'm going to include the Artizlab and the Voigtlander Apo, the Apo being basically the benchmark lens. That should be the best in theory. Okay, so here's all 4 shot at f2 in the corners, the extreme corner, and then the same at f8. f8, they're all pretty much sharp. Now center crop at 1 meter, they're all pretty good up close, but I think the Artizlab might be one of the best. Maybe Mr. Ding also very good. Next, lens characteristics, starting with vignetting. It's gone by around f4, but it's hard to tell from these photos. In terms of sun stars, you can get pretty decent sun stars, maybe a bit unique. It's a bit of a spray, a bit of a star, but yeah, not too terrible. You can see that this lens does flare, and it can flare quite heavily, as you can see here, especially when shooting towards the light. Here's some various flare patterns that I got when testing the lens. Bokeh, it's very nice shot wide open, as you can see here, but stop down, it's like the classic LEICA lenses with that kind of nasty jagged bokeh, which I'm not a big fan of. Mr. Ding sharpness in a real world test, you can see the raw on the left with preset on the right. When you add a preset, it's more than sharp enough, even wide open, as you see here. Lens colours, so walking around the Czech Republic, I had my Leica M10P, and then you can see my setup, and here some sample photos. So raw on the left, Mr. Leica preset added on the right to give it a bit more pop. I'd say the colours out of the lens are slightly cooler, maybe a little bit unsaturated or desaturated. But obviously fine, once you process your images, you're never going to use a raw file as it is out of camera anyway. Here you can see me shooting portraits as well, and here you can see the results. Again, I added colour presets here, as you can see, so you can see what the colours look like, but obviously normally I shoot black and white for most of my portraits. Talking of black and white, let's do black and white next. So the Mr. Ding lens in particular, I wanted to share some black and white because when they spoke to me, they said that they were really trying hard to get the tonality of the vintage Leica lenses when designing this lens, and so they seem to have black and white in mind when kind of looking at the optics. And I had no kind of complaints whatsoever. I just added my in this case I added my new Mr. Leica SL2S presets to these files, and you can see the tonality is really nice. If you ever visit Prague, you have to visit Photo Skoda. I'm not affiliated, but we always try and visit every time we're in the city. They've got a huge range of vintage cameras, vintage lenses, and modern Leica stuff, and then also photo books and things as well. They even had the Veloy Easy 120 scanner that I now use. See the recent video for that, and this awesome 4x5 camera. So yeah, definitely worth checking out, and also great for testing lenses. Here you can see Toby had picked up some film too, and then yeah, on for more testing. Now, what about the Artizlab lens? Now, I have done a full video on the Funleader Artizlab. Although this is the version 2, the optics are identical to the version 1. So I'll link that video, maybe the second link in the description below. Check out that for all the kind of lens characteristics for that lens. Next, let's do a 5 lens side-by-side test using 5 classic inspired lenses. So for this, let's say we're in the Czech Republic. I was with Toby, so Toby was kindly my model. And I wanted to test the black and white tonality, so that was raw with the black and white preview as you get out of camera when you use your black and white JPEG mode in, say, a Leica SL2S, or in this case the M10P. All lenses are shot at f2, and you can see, maybe pause the video to check the slight tonal differences between each one in terms of contrast, in terms of the rendering especially. If you look at the bokeh, some lenses have got a bit more character in the background than others. Now, to test the background properly, I wanted to do all lenses again side by side. I didn't have space to write the words on all of them, so I'm using letters. So F for Funleader, D for Mr. Ding, A for Artizlab, L for Artizlab, V for Voigtlander. You can see if I take a crop in the corner, the rendering, the bokeh is really different with each lens. I think the Funleader seems to have a bit more character and a bit more fall off in the background compared to some of the other lenses. And also the colours were all slightly different. The Artizlab was a bit more yellowy green than some of the others. From these centre crops, you can see perhaps the Artizlab is maybe the worst or the softest, and then the others are all reasonably similar. The Funleader and the Mr. Ding both performed more than good enough for portraits. So how much does the Mr. Ding lens and the Funleader Artizlab lens cost? Click the first link in the description below to find the price in your country, but the Artizlab in the UK is £400, and then the Mr. Ding is valued in dollars, and that's $700, so it's a bit more expensive. So what is the verdict? After comparing these lenses to lots of other 35mm lenses, I think both the Funleader 35 1.4 and the Mr. Ding 35 1.8 are both excellent lenses. Personally, I love the Funleader lens. I absolutely love the lightweight lens, and I found my go-to setup was to put a 35mm light Artizlab hood on it, which made it pretty compact, and then it also helped reduce the flare. Then I shoot it at f2 onwards on film, and the results are just amazing on film, especially if you stop down even more. Here's a film shot in London on a recent workshop a couple of days ago. I think this is around 5.6 on foam and pan 100, so not even like a super sharp film. And if you zoom in, the details like more than good enough. So this is my go-to now 35mm lens when I need a faster lens for like a walk around in case I need to shoot in low light for film. And then I've also got the Voigtlander 35 3.5 if I want even smaller, but it's going to be say a bright day. But I mean, look at the sharpness. The advantage of the Mr. Ding lens is it focuses to 0.7 meters, so better for portraits if you're limited to M cameras and you don't have like a light Artizlab close focus helicoid. I prefer it with my square hood. It just makes it smaller, and also it matches the matte black Leica cameras much better with a matte rectangular hood compared to the heavier black paint hood. Nice lens, nice made. It doesn't have the infinity lock, which a lot of people like, and it also has a 39mm filter thread, where the Funleader one doesn't have a filter thread. So by using the light Artizlab hood, I put a filter in the hood. If you love a bit of extra weight, you'll love the Mr. Ding lens. Personally, I like lightweight, so I'll probably go with the Funleader lens, but both are excellent. Let me know in the comments what's your favourite 35mm lens for Leica M mount. Check out these 35mm lens videos next, and thanks as always to my amazing Patrons.